Hello, this is Serrano of the 14th Legion, and I'm presenting a series of clips in this video of fights with some guys from fcon that took place over a couple of days. There are 3 clips in total. 2 of them are in a bellicose and 1 is in a magus. So we start with the first clip here in Kejari, and there are a group of 5 or perhaps 6 fcon guys in destroyers with 1 people and a Tyrannus, and they've been bouncing around the system for a while. I've chased them around in my bellicose. I've tried to get them to fight me and they kept running away. It turned out I think they were trying to get a warp in on me, and at one point one of them even convoed me, I think, to try and distract me while they warped in, which was quite clever, but didn't work. Anyway, I've descanned them eventually at the sun, and I've gone to warp into the sun to try and hopefully get the engagement there. So I'm going to pick up the video at this point. So the gang is basically disorganized, and I'm pretty sure a couple of them are alts. They're FAC farmer alts. Anyway, we're coming out of warp here, and you can see they're all spread out. I'm fairly sure they're aligned back to the plex that I was at before trying to get the fight. But I come in pretty close to this Algos, and immediately the first thing you're going to see is that some of them run away, which is unfortunate. And there he goes. And I thought that they were all going to run, but they didn't. This Algos stays, and I get a long point on him. Everybody else is too far away at this point to help. Other stuff is coming. So I put some damage onto this Algos. I actually go a little bit too close here. I could have gotten scrammed, but it didn't really matter. He only has a long point. And at this point the Tyrannus is starting to come back in. So I've turned away and I'm switching onto the Tyrannus. I want to get rid of him. So I wave him up and I put damage onto him. But the Tyrannus, I don't know if he changes his mind or what, but he turns around and he just gets out of there. I left my long point on the Algos. I've actually lost it there, but I never switched my point to the Tyrannus in time he runs away. So I re-tackle the Algos. That's when the Sweeple has arrived. He's the biggest threat to me. If he gets a scram on me, I'm hosed, but he doesn't manage it. I pilot underneath the ball. They're sort of balled up nicely. It gets very close at this point, as you see there, but I'm going to throw my web onto him, or at least if I need to, I'm ready to web him off me. So I'm piloting in a sort of a low circle around them. I'm just trying to watch where everybody is and make sure that I'm not burning at anybody, and keep moving. So now the Algos is about to die, but I've just hit reload. My drones are going to finish him off, but my cap is really bad at this point, and the Sweeple is being very aggressive. So I decide I'm going to try and push away, and I think I'm going to disengage at this point. So they're hitting my drones yet? No. Yes, they started hitting my drones there. So I decide I'm going to push away, and the Sweeple, however, follows me. I'm about to get my reload, but the cap is the biggest problem. Bellicose does not have a lot of cap, and if you're micro warp driving and long pointing something for an extended period of time, its cap is going to just run out. So I've managed to pull away there. I'm aligning towards the station. I've just given an overheated micro warp drive cycle, the last of my cap, just to make sure I get away. But at this point now I've realized that my cap is not as big a problem as I thought, and everything starts leaving, and the Sweeple gets left behind. Now if I decided to re-engage at this point, I'd have caught the Sweeple, but I'd leave it a little bit too late before I realize he's isolated, and I'm going to go back and try and catch him. If I had overheated my long point and been spamming it on him, I would have caught him. Unfortunately, spoilers, I'm not going to catch the Sweeple. He's going to escape just as I enter long point range. He will warp away, which was a shame. But anyway, the fight, in the end of it was that I killed only 1 Algos and everything else leaves, but it was still a very fun fight, and I was quite pleased with my piloting there, especially maneuvering around the group, avoiding the scrams, which I'm pretty sure this people had, and the Tyrannus, switching target to the Tyrannus at the right moment, although I could have probably tackled him and killed him and then switched back to the Algos easily enough, but I was happy with my Algos kill there. If they'd gotten a good scram on me, I'd have been toast. The damage was just too much for this bellicose. Anyway, great. So let's push on to the next clip. Alright, we take up the next clip here, and I'm in The same bellicose, probably the very same ship, and I think several of the same guys are in this group. They are 3 now with 2 algosses and a breacher, and I warped to a small, hoping that they're sitting outside it. They usually go to a small, and I can see them there on D-scan. What you also see on D-scan there is a procurer, and at this point I've seen the procurer on D-scan, but I've completely ignored it, and that would be important. So I'm trying to D-scan where they are. I thought they would be at the sun, but it turns out that they weren't. They were, well, you'll see. But I warped to the customs office. I thought they might be here, but at the same time I've realized there's one asteroid belt. Here I am at this planet, and I'm checking the name of it so that I can warp to it very quickly. Now, right now, I've realized there's a procurer, and I've realized exactly what's happening, that all of these dudes are in the belt, and they're attacking the mining ship, who's blue to me. I've checked it. So I'm getting ready to spam my warp into the asteroid belt. It's a shame I didn't realize that earlier, but as I said, I saw it on D-scan, and I just glanced completely over it, which was a bit of a mistake, but there you are. Anyway, I'm warping into the belt now. It's 2 algosses and the breacher. So the breacher is the biggest concern for me, because he is quite tanky. If he has an ancillary shield and armor boosters, he could easily hold on for long enough that if he could burn in and get a scram on me, his buddies could back him up. So I'm locking them up, and I'm going to put damage onto the breacher. So it turns out that this procurer had a scram and a long point and 2 webs. All of his mids were tackle, and he was tackling both of the algosses and had nothing on the breacher. So when I lay damage on the breacher, it panics and starts to run away. There he goes. And I realize he's running away, and that I'm probably not going to be able to catch him. Although I make a sort of a half-hearted attempt at it. There he is. I'm about to give up on it and take damage off, but there it is. I'm taking damage off right now. But I've just realized that the breacher has gone and flown straight into that giant space rock. So I could probably catch him. Now, I've accidentally switched off my micro warp drive though. Yay me. Otherwise I would have been able to catch him and get a wave on. But anyway, I forgot to turn on the warp drive again, and he gets away. So I turn around, and I'm going to re-engage on the algosses. Now both algosses are on top of the procurer, and I'm going to quickly get a point on this guy. But I realize that if he's taking so much damage, then he's probably tackled by the procurer. So I'm going to swap my tackle to the other one and make sure he doesn't get away, and get my damage in. Now it turns out that I think either one or both of these algosses didn't even have any prop mod. As one dies now, the procurer has also just died about now. The procurer goes down, and so I'm just going to sit out here and engage on this algos, and the breacher makes a sort of, he thinks about coming back in, and I'm ready to burn at him, but he thinks again and leaves. Now this algos tackles me, but like I said, he doesn't actually have any prop mod, and he only has a long point, and for some reason I don't see a lot of damage coming in. I think perhaps his drones had still aggroed on the drones of the procurer and were still trying to kill them. I'm not sure, but whenever my reload is being painfully long as always, but just about to complete, and as soon as it completes I'll finish off this algos. And this is pretty simple, a pretty simple little fight. I mean, they didn't stand too much of a chance. The procurer was a surprise. I should have seen what was happening much earlier, but still piloted well around the giant space rocks, which the breacher didn't, and it almost got him killed when that was my fault for not using my micro warp drive appropriately. But there you are. Anyway, it was good fun. And there's one more fight with the same group, which it takes place a few moments later in the next system. So let's jump over to that clip next. Okay, so this is the final clip, and I'm flying a dual rep magus against I think the same 3 guys. There's algos, breacher, and I'm again trying to figure out where they are, because they keep bouncing around. As I warp to this gate, I caught a glimpse of an algos, and there's some things on D-scan, but I can't quite figure out where they are. So I'm just trying to use my D-scan to get the location, but all ships have disappeared. So I can convince myself that they've gone to the small, since they all disappeared off D-scan. So I warp to it now. I enter warp to the small, but at the same time, an alliance mate of mine is engaging them in a malediction, and I don't know this. We're not communicating, but he has caught one of them, or both of them, outside of this small, and it forces the engagement. I didn't know that was happening, but it's very fortunate. Anyway, I land on top of these two algosses, and here is where the chaos begins. I haven't flown a ship like this with multiple armor reps and so many mods in quite a while, and my control is quite shit. So I go to tackle this first algos who's taking damage, and I immediately burn completely out of tackle range. Get my damage on, and I get my tackle, of course, and I burn back in, and then of course I slingshot straight out the other side and back out of tackle range. I'm sort of panicking. I'm not panicking, I suppose, but trying to focus so much on managing my various mods, and I'm not piloting properly at all. You see, I'm simply just approaching. I'm trying to use orbit commands. It's a 5,000 meter orbit command for some reason. And drop my drug, my exile, and start repping. Breacher has arrived. As the other algos who wasn't pointed decided he was going to peace out, so it's left with just algos and Breacher, and the malediction, of course, who I understood he didn't actually know I was here. He thought he was killing the algos by himself. He's over, but you couldn't see me. Now I'm scrammed now, I think, by the Breacher, but the algos is about to go down, and I'm ready to push in on the Breacher immediately. So I tackle him, and I would have used my micro warp drive there, but he had me scrammed, so I couldn't. But the malediction tackled him, so he couldn't get away. So now I've decided that I'm going to try and bait tank a little bit. I'm obviously very bad at bait tanking, but I'm hoping that the second algos will come back. So I'm not going to rep for a while. I'm just going to sit here and orbit this Breacher. He tanks quite a lot, as you can see. He's got the ASB fit. The Breacher can take a lot of damage for the duration of its charges. Anyway, so much for bait tanking. I've just hit a rep cycle. But anyway, the algos does come back, and until then his Breacher is just tanking me, and the malediction is, I think he's realized that I'm here at this point. But anyway, I'm ready to move on to the new algos as he arrives back, and as soon as the Breacher goes down, I'm burning in to tackle the new algos, and I'll just activate all my reps and cap inject and just throw all of the armor back up to full. I finally decided that I've realized that I'm piloting very poorly, and I've calmed down enough to stop my ship in space and keep it an effective range and stop this yo-yo stuff, which was not very effective. But however, this algos, as you can see, he has a web, but he doesn't. Again, he has only a long point. I think both of the algoses had long points. I think the Breacher had the scram, so the Breacher, again, I was right in the previous engagement as the bellicose to want to go after the Breacher. He would have caused me trouble. If the Breacher had got a scram on that bellicose, the algos had more than enough damage to kill it. But in this case, I'm able to just tank this algos damage. It does a lot more damage than the previous algos had done, but it's obviously not enough. It's quite a tanky little magus, even though it's only Tech 2 fit, but it tanks quite a lot, especially with an exile. And down they go. So, like I said, it had been quite a while since I had used a ship like this with quite so many active mods to manage. Cap, double rep, multiple tackle, and there's newts and there's drones, and there's trying to use exile booster in the middle of the fight and all that. It's a lot to think about while you're also trying to pilot, and my piloting was pretty bad. But having had this fight just now was enough of a warm-up to be a much more difficult fight with a similar ship later on, which in a Myrmidon, which will also be on my YouTube channel. If you are interested in that, it should be there. Anyway, that's the final clip of this series. Thank you to my opponents, the guys from fcon, who randomly show up here most nights of the week in a group of 3 or 5 or 6. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope we can continue to have some fun engagements in the future. And perhaps this video has been useful to you. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.